Let's take a look at the Divine Feminine update. Yes, I'm a Divine Feminine too, so as I'm reading this, I'm sure I'm going to be having to eat some of my humble pie. For those of you that don't know, I'm Yildiz from Yildiz Readings, a psychic medium, intuitive astrologer, and clairvoyant. If you need a booking, you can go to the links directly below, as well as you can visit our Sage Inner Circle Network membership, where these videos are directly pre-released. Now, we're going to get straight into this. And I would say, if you haven't seen the masculine and the karmic, go through and take a look at those videos, because they do bring you full circle to look at your path and some of the externals, as well as how sometimes we can directly look at the karmic update more from a vibration, especially when we're getting stuck in the ascension process and how we directly do our shadow work. So try and look at it from that perspective also, depending on where you are in your path, early or later. Now we have the crowning energy. I was like, oh, heck. Now, we have God of Forgiveness, and it's in reverse. I don't necessarily feel Divine Feminine, you're not forgiving. I do feel there is a protective energy coming up, and we have just moved through that energy of Chiron and Aries, really all the way through back to 2018. We also did have, prior to that, Chiron and Pisces, which was very psychological, and we currently are moving out of the nodes in that energy. So I have really kind of framed this month, in a sense, especially for all of us in the collective in general, and like feeling very, very frustrated, feeling maybe triggered, overwhelmed, our nervous system is extremely overstimulated, that this can be a very good month to flow, to not necessarily state everything very permanently, although permanent things will be changing due to the nodal shift. And, it's like we have been waiting, I would say, all the way back to 2012 to this point, going through these various transitions for the train to arrive, for some sense of physical 3D movement for us to have. And so, the term reciprocity was really coming in. Is it normal to have things crop up where you say no? And it's not, unconditional love does not mean, it means different things. And let me get into the context why I think this is important. For some of you, yes, it can be you're stuck. It can be that you're very hurt, you do not trust people. And it won't just come down to your counterpart. Generally, when we have a lot of trauma, it is generally a lot of things. It's the lack of motivation. It could be a bit of depression. It could be a lot of areas where you just feel like you're beating your head against the wall and you just can't deal. Take some time for yourself, reach out and get that support, and go back to a memory system in your life of where that actually wasn't so, and something quite surprising and liberating happened, and try to use that as a compass in the temporary moment of you feeling this, okay? Because it's really not the context of what I'm saying, both psychically and astrologically, even if in the 3D we can have some challenges that we're directly dealing with. Now, the other thing is, forgiveness doesn't mean I give you permission to make me a doormat, okay? So there's an assertive side that comes through with this process. So it's proof to me, show me, standing your ground, having standards, you get the gist. We're not going to go too far into this. So I do feel there is this element where you're going, do I have more work to do? Well, Mercury's retrograde in Cancer, so possibly, but I feel it's more about reciprocity, okay? And I do see, if you haven't seen Divine Masculines, go through and take a look at it. Very similar frequency that's coming through. I do feel this individual is feeling your energy, but I also feel in the 3D they directly are having quite a lot of challenges that they're dealing with, and as frustrated as you are right now. Now, in the most recent past, we have the openness here and the cards in reverse, and it feels like, things being hidden, having to do these trauma clearings on our own, even if maybe you were in a connection, or even maybe if you had people around you, or directly the communication with your twin, it has felt quite isolating. And again, I would state it is because of the North Node having been in Pisces. So this blockage is moving to the past, even though you could, from a psychological level, be saying, gee, this just gone. It's not going to be there. What do we have in the heart of it? We have God of unity. And we see these individuals quite tired, sitting around and really, coming out of the darkness into the light. And this piece is more an ascension process. It's letting go and flowing with the changes. But I do feel there is the love that is coming back into the heart chakra in an activation setting. Now, yes, look at this individual. We have God of love, and they have a bird on the shoulder, and they have a rabbit in their hand. And again, 11 is coming through. So for some of you, you're scared you're going to fall prey to an individual in the name of love. And you don't, it's almost like the sugar is sweet and it's like honey to the bee, but the danger, you feel maybe there's a danger involved in that. And so do you just sit there and not have the sweetness of life, or do you open up to the context of the potential? And so, when we have potential, if we're in a healthy frame of mind and we're not so much in the PTSD and all the rest of it, we're like, oh, potential. But when we have potential and we're traumatized, the first thing we're like, oh, what various ways is this going to screw me over? It's just the way our psychology works. So again, sit with that, because I'm not really getting the reference that that's so. Now, you also can be feeling that this person may not be looking at everything so clearly. And for some of you, yes, that could be so, because it can be that you feel that they're not making wise decisions. And it can be that, how do you break that spell to get that movement going? When we are tuning into what that, you're going to hate me, but hey, I've been on this journey over 30 years. So you take it or you can leave it. This is not judgment. This is just what I'm observing in the cards and how I directly have navigated my path. Have I at times looked at and gone, this person really needs to get their crap together? 100%. But then when I have done my shadow work and maybe done a list, and I've, grabbed a piece of paper and I've drawn a line down the middle and written that person's name and my name, and then what blockages I felt they had. And then when I looked, I had exactly the same. But instead of me, because, it's a safety complex. It's like we just want the shit to get into alignment so we can move forward. What was happening was anything that cropped up in my mind that I felt they were not doing, I actually was doing it also. So we both at a spiritual level were struggling with it. So that's maybe a nice way of articulating it so you can grasp and maybe test it in your own side. This person is emotionally looking at things from a very rational point of view. It doesn't mean they're enjoying it, okay? It doesn't mean they're not frustrated or that they don't wish things were different, although they are putting the steps in to make that situation different. In an emotional point of view, you can be looking at them like they've made some pretty poor decisions. And this is directly impacting you, but other people as well. You can be picking up on ascension things right now, and you're like, when is this going to be over? When can we just move beyond this so that we can get into alignment? And I do feel, again, I really feel an acceleration. This acceleration is coming through very quickly. Even in the outcome card, God of Action, this person is going to be taking action. You are picking up on it psychically, but it is happening at an internal level than the 3D level. Try to get into alignment of, just cleaning up anything emotionally that you feel you need to purge or look at. If it's coming up, sit with it. Don't feel no changes happening. I do feel changes coming. But for some of you, it's not just the fact of I need these things to change. It's that in your core, in your empath body, if you are too heavily focused on what they're doing, you're really going to pick up on their ascension process. And it's almost like this individual is in the hangman position, which is the divine feminine. Some of you do need to rest and look after yourself. Some of you do really need to find a quiet space to be anchored in. You could also, all of a sudden, I'm getting a headache, like the top of the head. There can be this pressure. It could be neck and tension. So I would say really getting yourself hydrated, looking at your electrolytes. Again, I'm not a doctor. Gauge it, check in with your body and the things that you need to directly do. There can be a bit of sensitivity to light and wanting to go into hermit mode. I also feel this person's coming through in your dream state. There is a judgment coming, and this judgment is going to move you into the future. And I do feel it can come in quite quickly. You may feel it. It's coming quickly. Now, if you do want to look at masculine, feminine karmic, we will have the next edition out shortly for the following week. But at the moment, we do have the masculine, feminine karmic third party. If you want an individual reading done around your connection, you can go to the link directly below and book a reading via the website. When you visit the website, we do have other things on offer, as well as our landing page for Sage Inner Circle Network, where you can sign up and actually get these updates pre-released and more, as well as community to help you support you through this process. If that's something you're interested in, jump through, take a look at the links, and I'll see you next week.